Good evening. The time being 6:01, I'll call the October 7th meeting to order of the Oxford School Committee. Tonight we start our meeting with a very special announcement to two of our best and brightest students, and I will give the floor to our superintendent.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Ennis. It is with great pleasure that we get to recognize two of our seniors this year, Erin Sullivan and Ben Murray. And they have done something that, as far as we can tell, hasn't been done in recent memory here at Oxford High School. And both of these students are National Merit Commended Students awarded by the National Merit Scholarship Program. And these students have achieved in the top 3% of all students across the country who have taken the test. And I would like to call them both up at the same time, Erin and Ben. I have a couple of things to give you, and I also have a couple of things that you can hang on to as well. We are fortunate that we have, on behalf of the National Merit Scholarship Program, this letter of commendation awarded to Erin Sullivan and also to Ben Murray for outstanding performance on the preliminary SAT National Merit Scholarship qualifying test in 2012, and attested by the president of the National Merit Scholarship Program and our principal at Oxford High School, Mr. Kevin Wells. Congratulations. Don't leave. Well done.
Now, why don't we get one with mums and dads? If we could, and the superintendent.
And Mom and Dad to come up. That would be great.
Here, I'm gonna give you mine. Everybody, give them your phone.
And if everyone could just stay up for a minute. And I wanted to also present, on behalf of the school committee, a small token. And again, it's heavy. And this is on behalf of the Oxford School Committee in recognition of all that you have done. As we know, as parents and as educators, behind successful students are supportive families. And this is about the best example you can have of supportive families who really, really have so much to be proud of. And I know that they have already received many awards through up until this year, and I have on good authority that they're going to be receiving many more awards over the rest of their higher education. So congratulations to Erin Sullivan and to Ben Murray, Commended Students Award from the National Merit Scholarship Program, and congratulations to your parents as well. Job well done. Thank you.
Well, if anyone came to the forum that we had last week, we had about 100 people almost in this room. And I've known Tom now for quite some time. Mrs. Murray, of course, was one of Molly's teachers. And I have to say that this is the kind of parent involvement we beg for, because this is what you get. You get really great kids that are well-rounded, they're respectful. Benjamin is wonderful. He really is. He does a great job here. I hope you stay. I'll put him up early so that you can, see him in person. He does a great job. Erin, you are an angel. You are. You are an absolute doll. Talented, smart. You've got the whole world ahead of you, and you're going to do just wonderful things. I just know it. You have a wonderful family, and this is the kind of thing we want your parents to promote to other parents, to say that if you are involved in your children's education, there's no stopping them for where they can go. So, 2 fine examples, 2 wonderful families. Congratulations to you all. I hope that Mom and Dad take you out for a treat or something tonight, or throw a little party or something for you, because it is a big deal. This kind of thing is a big deal. So thank you, Mr. Himmelberger, for that presentation. Actually, I will break out of the format here, and Mr. Murray, the floor is yours, sir.
All right, thank you very much. So unfortunately tonight I don't have very much to say, since not much has happened since our last meeting. But first, we started a new program at the high school called Fun Fridays this past Friday. And so what that program is every Friday during lunch we play a short carnival game, or if you've seen the show Minute to Win It, it's that sort of game. And there are prizes given out to the winning students, sponsored by Student Council, like small gift cards. And the goal of this program is to really raise school spirit and make the students excited to be at school, even if it's just for 1 day a week. Also we have homecoming coming up.
Hint, hint.
So our Spirit Week at the high school is going to be the week of the 15th to the 18th, with a homecoming dance on the night of the 18th, where we're going to choose the homecoming king and queen that will be honored at Homecoming Day, which is Saturday, October 19th, with all of the varsity sports games and all of the booths to support each club. And that will be the 19th. That is all I have for tonight.
Well done once again. And because you are an award winner, you have the night off. So you can go home with Mom and Dad if you like. We'll go into our routine business now. Excuse me. We have the approval of minutes from our September 23rd meeting. Any changes, comments? I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Wait 1 second.
Wait 1 second, she says.
It's okay.
It's
All right.
okay, she says.
All right.
Okay,
You can hear me.
I got you.
All in favor?
Aye.
5 affirmative. Minutes have passed. Tonight is the meeting that we discuss our MCAS scores. This meeting usually is one of the most important that we have, And I will give the floor again to our superintendent so he can make his presentation. And hopefully we will get some good news along with some mixed news.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. First of all, I wanted to thank the administrative team for being here and for some faculty as well. We work hard every day because this community trusts us with their children's education. And because it is public education, there are many, many laws and mandates that govern us. And the MCAS system has been in place for quite a while. It is going to be replaced in a few more years by another type of assessment, but it is the law of the land. And this year, the spring of 2013, was the first year that the new standards from the 2011 frameworks are what is tested on the MCAS. There is also to point out that we had 30 John and Abigail Adams Scholarship winners this year, and those students will have been notified. We have their names up on the website, and their parents have been notified that they are eligible for this scholarship. And those scholarships are awarded based upon performance on MCAS. And so I would encourage every student to take the preparation for their MCAS tests, as well as their attendance and as well as their diligence throughout the test, seriously, because there is real money involved here. These John and Abigail Adams scholarships will waive the tuition at many of our excellent institutions in Massachusetts. So that comes with the diligence of how well students perform on their MCAS. And again, there has been much made about teaching to the test. There has been an awful lot of conversation both in Malden and in Boston, as well as Capitol Hill in Washington, about what is best to assess students as they complete their public education. And we hear lots of discussion about the fact that many higher institutions of learning complain that they have to offer remediation in several courses because the public education system is not preparing students well. And I think, as we just saw, it comes in all shapes and sizes. And we have 30 John and Abigail Adams Scholarship winners. We have 2 National Merit Commended students this year. I would just like to say that we know we're not perfect, but we try every day to improve. And we have made this statement before, that there are about 2,000 students in the Oxford Public Schools that come to school, scheduled to come to school 180 days, and they have many interactions with staff and teachers and faculty and administration during the course of the day. And that amounts to many millions of interactions and chances for us to strengthen the ties between school and parents and community and students and teachers. Are we going to be perfect on every one of those interactions? Probably not. Mathematical analysis tells us we can never get there. But we learn where we have things to change. We understand what's in front of us, and we take that mission very seriously. MCAS are tested in grades 3 through 10. over 17 different exams. That will change in a couple of years with the PARC assessments, Partnership for Assessment of Readiness to College and Career. That competency determination will be in their junior year. That will be computer-based, and that exam is being field tested in the states that are in that consortium this spring. So it will replace this. It will still be a high-stakes test, and it will be conforming to the Common Core state standards, of which the 2011 Mass Frameworks are mapped to. So Massachusetts does stand ready and poised to continue to achieve well. We do have some concerns in Oxford, and we will certainly be addressing those in future meetings. The one concern of mine is attendance, and I would plead with every parent and guardian who is watching this evening that it is not okay for 32% of our students last year to miss at least 9 or more days of school. It's just simply not okay. And as parents and guardians, it is your legal obligation to send your students to school. And if we don't have them in school, it's very difficult for our teachers to cover the material, to get them prepared, to achieve well on the MCAS or the PARC assessments. So I will stand on that statement, and I will not back down from it, that every parent and every guardian watching this evening, please make sure your students are ready for school every day. There's only 155 left, right? This year anyway. So every day is precious, and we need students to be here. And I think that if we can emphasize the importance of school and attending every day, then and only then do we have an opportunity for the large majority of our students to improve and show growth and achieve more and better and greater things. And so as we go through the report, please keep that in mind, that while these numbers can be looked at through many different lenses, and there is many different reports that we can match up, from the high-level report down to drilling down into particular standards and how well our students do with those particular questions around certain standards. It all begins with showing up. And so I think that that is the most important message as we move forward. I have already spoken to grade 9 and 10. It was nice of Mr. Wells and Mr. Nugent to let me do that a couple of weeks ago. And we had a fairly serious conversation about what it means to be a student and what it means to try and do your best. And I think that grade 9 and grade 10 this year have taken that to heart. And they are the classes that we will be talking about in the next couple of years. You know, I also spoke to the juniors and seniors in a little bit different context. But we cannot settle for less than our best. The school committee expects it of me. I expect it of administrators. Administrators expect it of professional staff and non-professional staff. And everybody holds themselves to a very high standard. So, that being said, I'll get off of the soapbox and move over here. These were the MCAS taken in the spring of last year. The first couple of slides refer to growth. And initially when MCAS came out, we looked at just raw scores. And in 2008 and 2009, they began to add in growth. And growth is quite simply how much you improve from one year to the next. Now, you will not show growth if you are in grade 3 because you haven't had anything to compare it to, nor if you are taking a test for the first time, moving into the district, absent when the prior year was given. So that's where the growth percentiles come in. The state has growth divided up into very low growth, moderate, high, and very high. And you really can't look at one without the other because growth and achievement do go hand in hand. This is math by all grades, and I want to point out the obvious that Clara Barton has improved over the last several years. The middle school has improved, and the high school is improving. And we will not rest until we are where we want to be, and that is the competitive choice for all parents. We know that roughly a third of our 8th grade makes another choice. Now, as you can see by our students tonight, they also made a good choice. When about 1/3 of our 8th graders decided to continue their education someplace else, our goal is to make the high school a competitive choice. And Mr. Wells and Mr. Nugent are working every day to find ways that we can do that. And they have already brought forth additional AP courses that we should be able to implement next year. We are working with WPI on a possible STEM program, much like we have already replicated at the middle school. We have added an industrial arts shop tech engineering teacher with thanks to the school committee. And that is for students who struggle as well as students who are advanced and want to continue to pursue that type of curriculum. So we know that is what we need to do to be competitive. And we know that we will always lose some students to private school or to school choice and to Bay Path. But the goal is to make the high school an option, a competitive option, so parents who have already spent their money on education by paying their taxes can make the choice to get a deeper return on that investment. ELA, as you can see here, again, at the bottom, for those at home, it might be a little difficult to see, but those in the audience here, you can see the percentages, the number of students first, then the percentage, and then the number proficient or higher with the total number of students in that achievement level. Obviously, the darker the shading, the bigger and better the growth is. Excuse me, I thought I had it off.
Have to bring home milk?
Yeah. So as you can see, the lighter the shading, that is very low growth. The darker the shading, the higher the growth. And, you know, it's interesting, almost across the board here, it's almost mapping to the state's average. But obviously, we can do better. This is something that the professional staff is looking at now because growth is going to be a part of what is reported, and we are in the process of utilizing this data to give teachers their own growth so that they know how well, and administrators know how well, the students that are under their care and tutelage do. And it's certainly one of the purest forms of accountability. And it's not about anything but doing our best, improving, and getting better. This here is a plot, again, with growth and achievement. So your student growth percentile here, your achievement on the up axis. And as you can see, if you're in the upper right quadrant, you have high growth and high achievement. Conversely, in the lower left quadrant, you have low growth and low achievement. The large circle is, sorry, Neil. The large circle is the state average. And we have the grades here. So as you can see, we cluster around the middle of this chart. So we are average in growth, average in achievement when you look at this plot. And again, for ELA, it is shifted a little bit higher in the achievement, but the growth also remains stagnant. This is math in grade 3, and we are concerned with all 4 of these bars on the graph, but obviously the ones that we really like to report are the 2 blues because that's proficient and advanced. So as you can see here in grade 3, 69% of the students last spring were proficient or advanced, which was better than the 63% or the 52% or the 56%.
We ask questions? as we
Sure,
go on?
sure.
When you're looking at math in grade 3,
Yep.
2011, our advance was 6%. What happened that year?
There is many factors here, and
I don't remember.
there are many factors here. To look at this across, you're looking at different groups of students.
Right.
In some cases, we have changes in faculty. We have groups of students, a higher percentage that are mobile and in to the district or transferring out. There's many, many factors that go in here. It's tough to go back at this stage and really see, but what this does is it gives you the trend for the building.
Right, that gives
We
me-
also, this was the first year that we had reconfigured Barton and Chafee, 2010. So that was the first year. If you remember, prior to that, everybody thought life was grand and, oh my gosh, what's happening at the middle school? Well, it was because our subgroups were too small, so they weren't reported when we had K4 in both buildings. So one thing that we did by reconfiguring is we were then able to see in grades 3 and 4 how we were doing. And it certainly doesn't let Chafee off the hook because they're doing the heavy lifting early to get students prepared for the next steps. But that is some of the background here on these numbers here. And it is a challenge to look back because we do have a couple of slides later on that will show the cohort that took the tests, that took all of their tests in Oxford. And so you can see that they do achieve a little bit better than the total group.
On our MCAS, we track the student when they take their test. They have a number. We can track their whole career through the Oxford schools while they're here. Do we do the same for our educators? Can we track them?
We are in the process, and again, the state is in the process of doing that because not only do we have the educator evaluation system now in place, and that data is being reported and will ultimately be public in a couple more years as soon as they fine-tune that. But that data is, again, aggregated data. And it's very,
You
and
can't
it's very-
track a particular teacher and say,
We-
teacher XYZ taught math in grade 3 for 4 years. We'll say 50% of the students were proficient and advanced. We'll go 50-50. That teacher leaves. A new teacher steps in. New classrooms, new kids, everything. all of a sudden, our MCAS take a dive. So are you able to?
Or improve.
Well, I'm saying dive.
Okay.
All right. Are you able to break that out so you can see how, I'm saying now.
Yes.
Can you tell how that teacher is performing now,
Yes.
given these tests?
Yes, we do have that data that has now been compiled, and as we move forward, the impact on student learning will be measured for all teachers. Certainly, the MCAS scores weigh a little bit more on everyone's mind because the teachers who teach MCAS subjects or PARC subjects have a built-in accountability. And so what we are in the process of doing is getting the district-determined measures for other curriculum so that the state ultimately will decide on how those teachers are measured as well.
Okay.
So you are absolutely right. You have two ways to measure, and that goes into what the educator evaluation system is about. We have a rigorous evaluation now of all superintendents, administrators, and professional staff. And we also now compile the data, which will be public by district, but that's it. And obviously, you can see where there are some pitfalls as they compile the data, because if you have a turnover in your staff, then you're going to have more teachers who are in the needs improvement category, first-year teachers. Conversely, when you have an older staff, you have perhaps more proficient and maybe a couple of exemplary teachers. The danger is in making sure that all teachers are evaluated fairly. And we have gone through that now for a year and a half, and it is not about a gotcha, it's about raising everybody's expectations. And I think most of us are our own harshest critic. So we do have that ability, and it's continuing to ramp up at the state level and becoming more and more work for the districts as we go forward. This is ELA in grade 3. Here this shows a bit of a dip, 13 over 12. But, you know, we know, again, that the changes that we are making, and we'll go into those later, are starting to have an effect, a positive effect on student performance. And I think, you know, to the school committee's credit, and certainly to the chair's credit, having that meeting, that community forum, I think is a great start to make sure that we get parents and the community involved, and not just once a year at budget, but how do they support their children. You know, we have a lot of tools now that can help our families, and we will continue to refine those so that there is the opportunity for every student to achieve and to show growth. This is math in grade 4. Again, as you can see, 53% this past spring proficient, up from 52, up from 35, up from 32. The accountability status has shown that the Clara Barton School has improved, and I think that as well as the middle school and all of those faculties share in that hard work that it takes to move those results, and we are planning to find the same increases at the high school. Next. I'm sorry, ELA. Grade 4 ELA, again, 37, 38, 51, 55. So once we did split out the subgroups, again with the school committee's foresight, to approve that reconfiguration. It gives us more data, allows us to access more of the numbers that we can use to improve. The danger is in thinking that this type of work can be done quickly. It simply can't.
Shut it off, I think.
It takes time, and we have certainly shown the improvement. Is it as fast as we would like it? Absolutely not. Is it as fast as the committee would like it? No. But we are making progress, and I think with the support of parents and the re-engagement of all students, because, to be very honest, part of our issues last spring, and we have the data that shows that in some cases students didn't really give it an honest effort. So we need to make sure that we, as educators, impress upon every student that they must not waste their time, that they must try to do the best they can and work and do their fair share to improve. Middle school in math, grade 5. Again, 44, 45, 42, and last year 56. And again, you really have to look at so many reports to get the accurate trend, to understand what is happening day to day. But we certainly appreciate when the numbers reflect all of the hard work. And it's not simply the teachers in the classroom. It has to be the students' honest effort, and it has to be support and engagement at home that values education. Because we're never, ever, as a community, going to achieve where we want to be without that support from home. And when there is that support and that true partnership, it is amazing what happens. Because the students are engaged, they understand that what they do is important, and they work, and the teachers, let's face it, you love teaching students who are engaged. So, ELA in grade 5. Again, we had a little bit of a dip, but we improved over last year. The science and tech / engineering in grade 5. This will also be effective with this past spring, a requirement for John and Abigail Adams. So it becomes the third test that students have to pass and be proficient in or better to be able to be eligible for that scholarship. So this is becoming more and more important. Grade 6, math, last year, there was a bit of a dip. And again, there are challenges with different classes. There are challenges when we have faculty changes. There are challenges when students do not attend. But that is where we are for this past spring. ELA in grade 6 was at 55%. Again, a little bit down from previous years. Math grade 7, we had 47% proficient. And again, I believe that by going to the using of Envision Math, I think that will help. We are just opening up with that this year, and it will be interesting to compare how the results are in our K-6 with that. But I think it provides a better bridge to the upper grades. I think that there are lots of benefits from that, and as the teachers, they have really embraced it, and I think that parents will find it much easier to follow and to help their students. ELA in grade 7, 68% proficient or better. Math in grade 8. And again, there is much that has been made of grade 8 not being a very serious test, because scores do magically go up in grade 10 when it is make or break. However, here we are pretty flat with the previous year, and are at 57% of our 8th graders, which, believe it or not, puts us in the higher bracket of surrounding towns. So certainly, we do have room to improve, but we think that we have the programming, the faculty in place to do that. ELA last year, grade 8, was at 80%. Proficient or better, which is terrific. Science and tech, 42%. I think this is one that we hope that we can show improvements as we continue to move forward. At the high school last year, this is math, 43% advanced, which is terrific. The only drawback was we still had 30% warning needs improvement. But we have a huge amount of students that did very well in the grade 10 math at the advanced level. ELA, you can see here 86% proficient, 86. And again, while these numbers are good, they need to be higher. They need to be higher. And there's a lot of factors that go into getting them to be higher. But we will continue by adding other courses, by improving our instruction, and by making sure that students take things seriously. Science and technology and engineering, grade 10, 66% proficient, a little better than previous years. This is the slide that shows the cohort all the way through. And this is an interesting group of slides, because what this says is that this is students who took all their tests in Oxford. As we discovered in the last couple of years, we have a high mobility rate of a lot of students coming and a lot of students leaving us, sometimes rapidly. So for the students that took all their tests with us and were in the cohort from the beginning, this shows how they have performed over time. So this slide does show the same students. And they certainly had a very nice jump
So on this slide,
in grade 10. Yes,
so on
Mrs.
this
Ravelli.
slide, each year is only, we'll say in '06 they were in grade 4, but are we only showing the numbers of children that were actually present grade 4 through grade 10?
Yes, yes. These are the students that have stayed in Oxford and have stayed with us all the way along and have taken all of their MCAS tests with us. You can see here the class of 14, our current seniors, ELA. And again, the large majority do get the diploma. This is the class of 2015, which is the current juniors. And as you can see, they are the group that just took the grade 10 MCAS last spring. And again, here in ELA, this shows in grade 4, they took it in '07. Grade 5, they took it in '08, and all the way along. But it's only the students that stay with us. So here, that's 67% in grade 9. Yes, that were proficient or better. These are the sophomores, class of 16. And again, the folks that have taken the test all the way through, this shows grade 8 a couple years ago, which was the most recent, and then they will be taking it in the spring in 14 as sophomores. And again, the percentages of proficient or better are higher when you look at the students that have been with us throughout their educational careers.
Interesting.
2017 are the freshmen, and again, they just took the MCAS as grade 8, as 8th graders this past spring. Fairly even numbers all the way through. And here's the freshmen this year, who are the class of 17, and most recently, again, just took it last spring. Now, I know that the school committee and folks watching at home don't want to hear the same thing that the committee has been hearing for the last several years. You know, we're going to continue doing this, and we're going to try and do this. That really, I think, is not where we are. And if we can get students to attend, and if I can continue to get some airtime with our freshmen and sophomores to stress the importance of these tests, no matter what they're called, that we should be able to improve. I'd like to go through what we are doing this year and hopefully differentiate for the committee what is new and exciting and where we are as we move forward. We have put a lot of time into mapping the curriculum. This will allow, again, for teaching the same standards and covering the material at the same time. Last year we started with John Collins, writing because our outcomes on long comp and some of our other writing really needed to be improved. And so we have spent a lot of time getting folks to understand how to write better. The Envision Math program is K-6. We had very exciting, this is new, training on keys to literacy and professional development that began the days before school started. And we are bringing back some of the coaches and going to increase the implementation of keys to literacy, which teaches our students how to think at a higher order. And it's if any of you are Bloom's taxonomy students, that was the basis for this program. We are using a series called Fontes and Pinnell, Level Literacy Program, to help support some of our students. And we are piloting the DESE model curriculum units, which have their assessments, and they have just been released. So that is where we are in curriculum. We continue, probably the single one of the biggest initiatives is how to use all the data that we get. We have now tremendous access to everything. And it's just a matter of finding the time and the energy and the will to take the data and use it to our advantage. We started with a district-wide data team last year with the help of the DSAC, the District and School Assistance Center for Central Mass. And this year we are rolling out that to building-based data teams, so that we can have all of our professional staff have access to all of the data that is in front of them. We are looking at updating the data walls in each building. We are continually looking at our attendance, and we do see the same names throughout. Some of our most unattending children. And we are also continuing the software application TeachPoint to use that to help us to better evaluate staff. Our technology, as we know, continues to increase both in our use and in our reach with it. We have now implemented the digital whiteboards in all of our K-1 classrooms and are exposing our students to more technology. And our teachers have embraced the technology. And they are more than willing to use the technology to enhance their teaching and our students' learning with a little bit of information. We added another computer lab at Clara Barton, which will give students more access for their studies. We have rolled out the computer document camera carts across the district, again, to give teachers another level of access to technology. We have increased our access to ebooks, and we have implemented the new Follett automation system for our libraries. We have imported our map data into Study Island, and all students now in grades 3 through 8 have it customized to their learning ability. So this is a huge tool that's available, and with a lot of work, Mr. Trahan and his staff have reconfigured the names and passwords so that everyone can access with the same consistency across the application. We have started to target much of our professional development to relate to all of the initiatives that we are faced with. The educator evaluation system, the curriculum mapping, the district determined measures, the retail initiative, which we haven't even got to yet, has really tied a lot of our energies to meeting those initiatives. We have provided Fontes and Pinnell training to our special ed staff. We have had a 3-day workshop on data analysis for the data teams. We had teacher training for the rollout of our Envision Math program. We have trained teachers in keys to literacy writing. We have trained teachers in the Wilson Foundations program. We have initial training on the Keys to Literacy program. We have also offered CPR, first aid, and AED training as required. We are continuing our learning walk training at the middle school and the high school, and learning walks are a valuable tool for us because it is built around the conditions of school effectiveness, and it is anonymous. It is not to point fingers. It is to look at what is working and how it can be expanded. We have Keys to Literacy coaches, and we have used our half days to provide this Edwin training, which used to be, and still is called the Data Warehouse, where all of the data now resides. And we are providing physical restraint training to staff. That is just July, August, and September. Special Education Project Coffee has now been approved as a separate public day school, so it will track all of its data truly as a fifth building, as a fifth program within the district, and that will certainly our results next spring pure, and we don't have to disaggregate all that data. It will all be very available to us. We, again, with the school committee's support, went out and hired a licensed clinical social worker, and the creation of this position we think will help us to connect to some of our neediest families And it's amazing when you think that we're 50 miles from Boston, and yet we have needy students. And it's an important position, and I think it will help us going forward. Fontes and Pinnell is the level literacy program in K4, and that will provide the students with support in Tier 2 and Tier 3. We have, again, struggled with some of our MCAS scores in special education, and the MCAS alt assessment is complex. We have sent teachers for training, and we are using a co-teaching model to improve the integration between our regular ed teachers and our special ed teachers. And I think that, you know, we read the book by Jamie Vollmer that schools can't do it alone. Well, every one of these students is our students. And we can no longer say, those are not mine, good luck with them. You know, every student is our student. And I think more and more we are seeing people embrace that understanding. And it is critical for us if we are going to increase our success rate. At the Chaffee School, some of us have tuned in to the podcasts that Mr. Yvonne has put together to dispense with information and what is going on, another way to communicate. We have the building attendance committee because we know our attendance problems are in every grade. And I think that's contrary to what we would have thought, that it must be an upper grade problem. It is in Oxford across every grade. We have the Rock to Read, which is going after reading instruction. And we are dedicated to teaching foundations, which is part of the Wilson reading program, effectively to maximize the benefit from that. We have literacy coaches at both Barton and Chaffee, and they are providing direct instruction with our students that are furthest behind. And at Chaffee, we have the literacy days, the building-based initiatives of literacy days, author visits, and the literacy newsletter. At Clara Barton, we are restructuring the flexible math groups to 7 level groups, which will allow for more specific focus on each student's level. The word walls are in all classrooms to support the vocabulary skills. We are focusing on improving those student writing responses to the open response and the short response questions. We have restructured our support staff, and we have now 3 special ed teacher assistants, and ensuring that Foundations is taught every day. And the continued use of the grade level morning work to get our students off on the right foot. Again, we have the coaches, the 1.5 FTE coaches and literacy teachers to help with our students that are furthest behind. The teachers have been sharing their best practice, their instructional strategies at monthly staff meetings. I think you cannot emphasize this enough in every one of our buildings, that we have dedicated, committed, professional staff. And we know it's not always easy, but we have folks that will do whatever they can to improve our student outcomes. And the implementation of our building-based initiatives at Clara Barton are the math and literacy evening events, our after-school computer camp, our MCAS practice, and community outreach, which is done by our professional staff on a volunteer basis. At the middle school, we have implementation of coaches to support our Keys to Literacy, our Collins, and our Learning Walk initiatives. This is the professional staff taking charge and training other colleagues so that they can all improve our students' results. We have reassigned and realigned our paraprofessional staff to help support the remediation where it is needed in our ELA and math. We have had great success with our math assessments, which is help sponsored by work at Worcester Polytech, and it is a phenomenal program. And we have our full-time reading specialist that will provide all of our Tier 3 instruction and will oversee our Tier 2 instruction. And we have the monthly meeting of our teachers as well as our paraprofessional staff to develop the most rigorous curriculum. We have the data now. We have the Lexile ranges. We understand where students are. Now we have to move them forward. And again, with all of the data, we have distributed the student growth percentiles to all of our classroom teachers. And now they know where they are. And those are numbers that you can't really run from. And I think that's a credit to anyone in the teaching profession because of all of the challenges that you have on your plate, not only in Oxford, but across the state. There are tremendous challenges facing our teachers. And we are asking so much more of them in order to meet all of the initiatives and all of the mandates of the state and federal, at the state and federal level. And they are trying to find time in their day to do everything to make sure that their educator evaluation systems and goals are up to date, to make sure that they are mapping their curriculum, to understand what they need to teach and how they're going to teach it, integrate technology, understand all of the new programs. And oh, by the way, raise scores at the same time. There is a lot going on if you are an educator in Massachusetts now. And it almost makes you step back and wonder, are we really at the top of the heap when they look at all of the data? Because you would never know it by the amount of work in front of us. We have building-based initiatives such as the mandatory after-school tutoring, the homework center, our Do Now work, and our daily agendas that have really engaged many more students. At the high school, we have reassigned and realigned our professional staff to make sure that we are meeting the needs of all of our students. We have just added and assigned a new teacher to offer an expanded amount of electives, and I think that that will help move the needle when parents need to make a choice as to where their students should go after grade 8. The state requirements now are going to 4 years of math. Currently, it's only 3. That's next year, I believe. Yep. We have implemented the building-based initiatives such as the Keys to Literacy coaches, the learning walks. We have used the academic support grant to tutor incoming students. And we are analyzing the scores because of the help we have received from the DSAC team, that District and School Assistance Center. Because we are level 3, we have utilized them probably as well as any district, and they have been tremendous in helping us to improve. And the data teams, the learning walks, they have been tremendously helpful to us, and I think that that we will see that improvement in a year from now. The guidance department at the high school is monitoring student progress. The department heads are sharing with all of their content teachers on areas to focus on. We have the math question of the week, and we are hoping that by engaging the students in what is in front of them with MCAS, that they will perform better and not have over half of them leave a particular question blank. And I think that that alone, if we can get that message out to all of our students, that will help us improve. At Project Coffee, we have identified staff to coach John Collins. We are utilizing the Envision Math for the younger students. We have all of the staff trained on Keys to Literacy, and it's currently being used in all of the academic classrooms. And they are looking at the weaknesses in the specific standards through the analyzation of the MCAS data. And they're using math assessments. One of our Project Coffee teachers has gone through the math assessments program, and we are using that at Project Coffee. So I'd be happy to take questions. I think in terms of what is new this year, certainly realigning our paraprofessionals, implementing the MTSS system to support students who are not maybe where they should be, and certainly the Keys to Literacy has been an overwhelming success, and we look forward to that improving our scores as well. I would be happy to entertain questions from the committee and certainly the administrative team if there are specifics. There is a lot of information here. There is a tremendous amount that we have in front of us. I would certainly offer to anyone listening, if they want to look at data, if they want to have additional understanding of where we are, to please contact my office or your building principal or Mr. Trahan, and we can certainly provide maybe a clearer understanding of what all of these numbers mean. Thank you.
Thank you. You're going to put this on the web?
And this presentation
Be on? Okay. Be on tomorrow, or?
should be on,
Thank you.
tonight.
Okay. Any questions, Mr. Coonan?
Thank you, Mr. Hillenberger, for this very informative presentation. I have questions, I have some thoughts, I have some comments, I have quite a bit. So I guess I'll just start with the questions. A couple things that just really popped out the first time I saw this. You talk about the literacy coaches, and this is the A.M. Chafee School. Do they also address numeracy as well, or is it just pure literacy?
Those particular coaches are literacy coaches.
Okay, so
The-
is there a factor to go with the numeracy end as well? Because if you look at our ELA numbers, they're pretty strong.
Yep.
And that numeracy, when you get to that 6, 7, 8, it kind of just flatlines right
Right.
out.
Well, I think the emphasis for us is certainly on reading fluency and on literacy, because, I mean, I had this discussion with a parent last week and early today, that, you know, they want their students to go to something else, but they are still having difficulty accessing the curriculum in reading. And we think that by emphasizing the literacy fluency at the youngest grades, that will pay us dividends in all subjects across the curriculum.
And sir, and I agree, because it seems to be working for the pretty much, for my part. But how are we addressing at that early age, the numeracy? And at least another question I have coming up, and when you get to the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade,
Mhm.
when we have this big drop-off, and I understand part of it may be this new Envision program, but how do we make up for lost time? This went through for 15 years,
Mhm.
and then the students went through this program. Now, all of a sudden, there's a new book. Well, they never got that mastery at that other level. How do we get that? How do we pick up the pieces and move forward?
Yep. Are you referring to specific grades,
Six,
Mr.
seven,
Coonan?
6, 7, and 8. I mean, I'm looking here just as literacy and numeracy.
Yep.
We do pretty good. And then in that in the junior high age, and it's no offense to the Oxford Middle School for
Right.
what they do, is that the data shows they drop. You know, and we're double hitting on them with the math assessments, the regular math program, but some kids just aren't getting it. And then at least I think just to the 10th grade, I think that may be effort when you get to the 10th grade, but I'll go back to that question first.
Right, right. Well, I think the MTSS program, the tiered system of support, will help us in students accessing all of the curriculum. But where there is assessments that show they are behind in whether it's ELA or math, we have the opportunity to work with them and provide additional support. And I think that MTSS system, which is the mass tiered system of support, will allow us to use the data and get to the students who are in the most need, whether it's math or ELA, and get them to improve.
Okay, so I really didn't, I heard that, but what are we doing in grades 6, 7, and 8 to specifically make up for that, for those pieces? How are we going back to get the mastery?
Yep.
And I asked a question, I went to the program the other night, I wasn't sure. I think Mrs. Looney probably has a better answer here.
Yep.
If she does, it's a bridge up.
Thank you for being here, Mrs. Looney.
I need you to come up, please, Mrs. Looney. I need you to come up so we can hear you on the mic.
One's on.
I'll attempt to indicate
Sure.
that in only in the sense that Everyday Math was a spiral program, and Envision is mastery.
Right.
And so students will have to master those standards before they can go on and continue to the next one.
Mhm.
So that was one of the reasons that we decided to use Envision, because the Common Core is much more about mastery than the old frameworks were. Does that answer your question?
It totally supports what I was doing, but now where do we go back on the concepts, and how do we get students that maybe were below par level to raise up the bar?
Well, they have intervention programs within the system, and at the middle school, if I may speak about, we have a Tier 2 program, and at the beginning of the year, it was based on MCAS scores, and as we progress through the year, it'll be based more on MAP scores and the common assessments within the classroom, so that the intervention will be exactly from the classroom that they're struggling with. And it's a rotating basis so that as students master that standard, they can go back in to the regular classroom. And this is supplementary. This is not something that they're getting. It's supplementary to their math class. And that's the whole philosophy of Tier 2. They're getting their regular math class, and then they're getting the extra supplementary for Tier 2.
Okay, so it's an addition to their.
It's an additional
So
45 minutes.
So when does it happen, during a school day, before our school?
Yeah, it's happening during phys ed. The students are being pulled from phys ed once every 4 days. They still have 1 day of phys ed. And we have heard students say, the assistants that are in there, we have heard students say, oh, the last 5 questions on MCAS, I didn't even try. And now they know there's
Right.
consequences, and they need to do their best when their name is on it, and I think the students will learn from that, just that in itself. So I think the numbers will get lower as they understand that there's a consequence, that they always have to do their best, and that way we can concentrate on the students that truly do need the help.
And I take it it's very small groups. There's a lot of one-on-ones.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes, and eventually it'll get even better, because like I said, a lot of students said, oh, I didn't know that this was gonna happen.
Mhm.
And I think they have learned now that they have to do their best, so. Does
Thank
that
you.
answer your
That's,
question?
exactly, I didn't understand where we were going with it, and that's a great answer, it's a great response.
okay.
And I think it's a good strategy, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not done, by the way, I have a few more.
Vision.
Yeah, it's a great vision, thank you. All right, to the high school, and you say, and this is when the guidance department to monitor student progress, what are they doing to monitor, how does that, really, it's a statement, like, okay, monitor it, and how do we do that?
Defer to Mr. Wells.
Sure.
Yeah, what? Student progress at the high school.
First and foremost, the guidance department has all of the MCAS scores from the 8th grade. As soon as they came in, they received those. Our guidance department is divided by the alphabetical order. So they take a look at all of their students. Progress reports just came out last Friday, so if parents didn't get those, please call. We'll make sure that you get them. Sometimes they don't get home for whatever reason, probably misplaced. In any event, what they do is then look at the progress report to see where they are, comparatively speaking, to the score when they came in. and they call them in and talk to them about, are they struggling, why are they struggling, what seems to be the issue. In addition, every Friday I give them an attendance report for all of their students, so they're calling students down regarding their attendance, their tardies, and their dismissals.
Thank you. And then, the department has to share with content area teachers in order to focus on areas in need of improvement. What's the sharing?
high school?
Yeah, it's the high school, I'm sorry, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. The MCAS question of the week, I love, that's really good.
Are there any more after this, sir? I'd be more
They're
than
all
happy to
set.
stay.
I think the third one was good.
Would you repeat the question again?
Sure.
So I-
Department heads to share with content area teachers in order to focus on areas in need of improvement.
Well, again, right now, we're very fortunate that we have department heads back.
Yeah.
It was a 16-year hiatus where there were not department heads. So other than the department heads getting involved in data warehouse training, they're sharing that information with their departments when they have department meetings. So now we're fortunate that we have a faculty meeting once a month, but then we have department meetings the last Tuesday of every month. And the department heads sit down, they talk, they take a look at the questions, and then they strategize as to what they have to do. I think that the district on the whole, one of the things that we have mandated is that teachers come up with common assessments. Consequently, that's going to help as well as we move forward. So each quarter, there'll be an assessment that, for example, English 1 honors, it's going to be consistent. If there's 2 teachers teaching geometry, there's going to be a common assessment done at the end of quarter 1, 2, 3, and 4, so that we can, again, track where the students are going and how they're doing.
And that's what happens during department meetings?
They take, well, there's a multitude of things that happen. That's one of the things that happen during department meetings, where they dedicated time, they have and they'll continue to dedicate time to discuss how students are doing. For example, there was a question that we had, I'm almost embarrassed to say, about 70 students that didn't answer last year. So they went over that and they discussed it and they talked about why. And I think one of the strategies that we're going to try to incorporate is exactly what you need to do to take the test. Not the content, but the test itself. Because there's strategies involved with doing that. And a lot of kids, if they're frustrated, will not answer, and that's not going to help us.
Through the chair to Mr. Wells, at some point, and it doesn't have to be a specific, could we see a copy of a department meeting agenda? Because people say, oh yeah, the department heads, what do they do, what goes on?
Absolutely.
And I'm in school myself, in education myself, but every building's probably run differently. I'm just curious to see what
I'll forward you
yeah,
one tomorrow.
Exactly. And you can take the names off.
You have
and
an
all that.
OXPS.
Yeah.
I'll send it to you
Yeah, just
tomorrow.
just curious for that. Very good. It's fine, Mr. Wells, thank you.
Don't go anywhere yet. After the scores came out from the high school, I got a few phone calls and I got a couple emails. And some parents shared with me that their students now, their children that are high school students that do relatively well, came up in need of improvement. So how does, and this is a question I've asked year after year, how does an AB student come up in need of improvement on an MCAS? When they are in the classroom, excellent students. They take the test, not so good.
To this point in time, we haven't seen that trend, to be quite honest with you, but it's a good question, and what I can tell you is this. When a student gets an A or a B in an honors class, and if you compare that sophomore to the student that takes a college prep class, that's a different level. That's why we have levels. So I'd be curious to see what level the complainant, if you will, their student was involved with. Because we haven't seen, at least up to this year, we haven't looked at it this year, so I can't say this year's scores.
Okay.
But we have not seen where students are, more often than not, we see that if students are failing in the classroom, they're failing on their tests.
Okay.
We haven't seen it in the reverse, but we do have 4 different levels, including AP, that students take.
I'll email you them.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'll send them to you. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? I don't mind getting exercise, but
All set. Thank you, Mr. Wells, very much. Any other questions or comments? No? Thank you very much. What?
For Mr. Wells, no,
No, for anybody.
or for anybody?
Yeah.
I think that, the only question, I guess, it would be for everybody, I guess. What programs at this point in time are we offering, across the board for children that are either in the failure or needs improvement year after year after year? I think we have some set up in the middle school that I saw. I can't tell you the exact program, but it's in here, that there's a study time or whatever, mandatory study or whatever. But for the other schools, what else do we do? What are we doing? So whoever wants to answer that question. Was I clear in my question?
Students who,
So one person's nodding.
Yeah.
Can you explain it to them?
students who continue to fail or continue to need improvement.
Students, yes, because I would assume that if students needs improvement or failing, that this is not a new child
Right.
every year. This is, the same group, that it's, what are we doing? In the middle school, it seems like there's this mandatory, what do you call it? There you go. I'm assuming that is for kids who are failing, whether it be their classes, or failure or needs improvement in the MCAS. So what are we doing in the other schools? So if you want to talk, because Mr. Wells doesn't want to walk anymore, okay.
One of the things at the high school that we do, I write a grant every year, academic support grant, that targets those students from 8th grade on. Past 2 years, we've incorporated a summer program, but I think this year we're gonna go back to the one-on-one tutoring we offered during the school year. It doesn't grab as many kids, but it's more solid. The kids get a bunch of hours with the MCAS tutor. So that's one of the things we do. Now,
How
the
many,
teach-
oh,
sorry.
how many students? You said it doesn't get every student, so how many about?
when we had it in during the school year, from beginning of the school year, or this beginning of the tutoring process until the November retest, we work with the juniors who might have failed that test. And then afterwards, so on average, about 8 of those students. And then probably about 13 to 20 sophomores and freshmen throughout the year.
And how many do we have all total about? I don't know. Do we have numbers in all of this?
I haven't written the
If we
grant
do
yet
have
for this
numbers.
year. I can't speak to this year. We have 8 students who need to take the math retest. And it was frustrating because 4 of those students only failed by 1 point. So that's why Mr. Wells had mentioned actually the test-taking strategies, because those students left one of the open responses with a possible 4 points left them empty.
So do we have a class like that, test-taking strategies before the MCAS?
Teachers go over questions. I mean, it's incorporated into the teachers. I know the math teachers, the week or 2 before the MCAS, they work on specific questions. Where throughout the year, they work on the
I don't-
topics, but
Yeah, and I'm not thinking specific questions or topics, or can we, multiply big numbers or whatever. I'm talking how to take a test. Things like if you erase, to erase thoroughly. If you don't skip, make sure you're on the right answer to the right question. These are test-taking strategies. I'm asking, so do we have something like that goes on?
not a specific class, no.
Okay.
Not a specific class.
I think just, it's an area of need, it sounds like. Something to think about.
Oh, yeah. And the teachers now know that they're gonna pay a little bit more detail to that with the kids the closer we get. We had a teacher survey her Algebra 2 class, so these are the kids who took it last year, and the question that Mr. Wells was talking about, it was a fairly simple order of operations question. And it came, I believe, after an open response. So the kids, basically, they blew it off and saved their energy to go to the next open response. And obviously, they can't do that, but. So we've kind of identified where the kids might be. In English, a lot of the kids don't, if they're given a topic selection, they don't take a lot of evidence and put it into their answers. So I know the English teachers are working with that. But as far as a separate class, no, we don't.
Okay, so then, with this this grant that you receive and that you have this tutoring sessions, are there students then, it sounds like there are still students that we're missing. And that there are students that we're not offering it to. Are we offering it to all of them, but some of them just don't take advantage?
We offer it to as many as we can. Again, we target the
Okay, so,
So no, we're not offering it to
Okay.
all of them, because a lot of the kids, a lot of the students have full courses. We try to target students who are taking ACT labs, and phys ed, or other non-core. But if a student has a full schedule, we're not really pulling them out. And we're also monitoring their grades. I had a phone call, I think one of the parents you were talking about, and I met with the guidance counselor, and that student missed proficient by 1 point, but is currently doing very well in Algebra 2. So guidance is gonna monitor that student in that class. If she's doing well in Algebra 2, I think she's getting the support she needs wherever she was deficient on the MCAS.
I guess my still concern, it's not you, I'm not putting you on the hot seat.
Well, I'm not coming up
But-
here.
but yeah. My concern is still that if we are not, if we do not have this help for all students that need it, then we're not doing our job. Some way, shape, or form, we need to find a way to, and they can say, no, thank you, I'm all set with that. And they're teenagers, many might just do that.
And that's why I tried to go to the summer program to get more kids,
Right. But we
didn't-
still have to have, something that's offering, and if kids are not proficient, so I'm a little confused, if I looked a little puzzled when you said, well, their classes are full. Well, I don't know about anybody else, but to me it seems odd if they're not passing the MCAS, which they have to pass to receive a high school diploma, correct, still?
Correct. Well, I mean, currently, we did not have anyone fail the English MCAS in the building.
Okay.
And we had 9 students who failed the math, and we have targeted those students.
But those 9 students, we are addressing all of these 9 students at this point in time?
Correct. There are some commonalities between them I don't feel comfortable talking about over.
No, we're not
but
talking
there are
about
certain-
specific
there-
kids.
But there are certain teachers who have been given their scores and have them in class, and we'll work with them for the retest in November.
So my concern is that if we have kids that are not passing, first of all, and I think everybody's heard that now, that we need to be able to support that every single one of them in some way, shape, or form, at least present the option to them.
Correct.
And the other thing is that I would kind of question then, why a child who's not passing MCAS in the 10th grade, or even the 9th grade, it's not 9th, 7th, 8th, whatever. If they're not passing, then why are we letting them take full loads? This, to me, does not make sense.
We have yet.
So see, I got
we-
him moving now.
We have yet to have any student not get a diploma because of the MCAS.
Oh, good.
So we work with them.
Okay.
They take the retest.
Okay.
Any student who unfortunately might not pass the first retest, then we certainly target them for that grant and almost make them do that. We've tried after-school sessions, but a lot of our students work. A lot of our students are leaving to babysit younger brothers and sisters.
Absolutely.
So the mandatory just wouldn't work on our end.
Hi,
Hi.
what was your question? No,
I think he answered now, though.
okay.
My
Just-
biggest concern was that it didn't sound like this was being offered to all the students that were having difficulties. And that's important, that it's offered to everybody, that's
The
all.
grant targets those that have already failed. So there is a category, in terms of 8th graders, for example, our freshman class that doesn't do well. I'll try to answer that twofold. We've had discussions about study skills, just study skills in general. For the last couple of years, we've talked about offering that. We can combine, certainly in there is test-taking strategies. That's an easy fix. And I'm not whining, but I'm telling you a fact. If I take a teacher and they're gonna teach a quarter, because that would make sense, one quarter of the year, then they have to teach 4 quarters, and we wanna hit everyone, actually, for example, in the freshman class. But when they're doing that, they can't be teaching and decreasing the numbers in our ELA classroom. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So we've had extensive discussions. We've got a course kind of strategized in our minds that with the English department head, that we would like to offer for freshmen in terms of study skills and test-taking skills. It's a personnel issue. Why?
I
right?
agree.
Okay. Anything else?
I think we all agree that there is a big personnel issue at the high school. So we've plus one, now hopefully we can plus another soon.
And that plus one, we could target some of those students who struggle on science to take a different portion of the MCAS science, which is more technology-based, which will help them out.
I won't call you back up again.
No, it's okay.
Thank
All
you.
set?
All set.
Thank you. You all set? You have more?
Um,
Let's get to it.
I think he answered one. And I think I'm all set now.
Excellent.
I want to make sure I got
Very
it.
good. Anyone else? Okay. Mr.
Actually,
Coonan, go
yeah,
ahead.
just one last thing, and Mrs. Ravelli brought up, and it's in my notes as well, too, as Alan, as your whole administrative team is here, it's important that we hear that there are staffing needs to address these issues, that please get them to the superintendent. As we're looking at staffing, I know one of the questions that can be in my mind anytime he brings someone forward is for every hire, is how is this gonna impact scores? How of hiring this position, how is it going to impact our scores? So every time someone comes forward, and if there's a staffing that's gonna help with our scores, it'd be a half-time, part-time, 1/5, 2/5, whatever it may be, if there's a position out there and we can fund it, if it's gonna have a positive impact on scores, we'll see if we can get it done within our budget.
I agree.
I think Mr. Barone, Mrs. Ennis, Mr. Barone had a point.
Come on up, Mr. Barone.
At that point, I just want to say that that's the reason why last year we advocated for a 25 math coach in the building, in the lower level buildings, because there really is a need for that. Right now, the only real intervention that we have is Title I,
Mm-hmm.
along with special ed TAs, but we could certainly use a .5 at a minimum math person to support the coach.
Mrs. Ennis, if I may just respond?
Go
So
ahead.
you have the literacy coach, but there's no numeracy coaches, so you're looking for math?
Yes.
That's the question, that's the question I opened up with, is that you have literacy, but what, we need numeracy in there as well, too. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Himmelberger.
And to Mr. Coonan's point, I believe that, let's face it, it has been a difficult challenge to fund public education over the last several years, but because of the committee's commitment, starting with this community forum, we are, as a district, going to start with a blank slate and decide what is necessary to provide the right education for all of our students, and then substantiate it and bring it to the committee this spring. And I think that's the starting point, and not blue sky, this is nice to have, but, if we need a numeracy coach in K-4, then guess what? We're gonna make sure we substantiate it and put it forth.
Good.
To your point.
Yes, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, thank you. I'll let you continue on, Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Ennis. I just wanted to let everyone know that we will continue with our community outreach, with our Supper with the Super evening program. And Tuesday the 15th, a week from tomorrow, we will be right here at the high school. Monday, the 21st, we will be at Chafee. Tuesday, the 29th, at Clara Barton. And on Monday, November 4th, at the middle school. And again, we will get the message out in various forms, but I wanted to let everybody know in the community that it's a great opportunity to get together with administrators and teachers and school committee to ask questions about or find out information or offer any ideas as to what goes on with your child when you put them on the bus or drop them off at school, and what we do and how we can improve. I think that is the nexus of what we are looking to accomplish. And we cannot do it by ourselves, nor do we expect parents to do it by themselves. It really requires that team approach, and we will stand willing to listen to anyone and respond to suggestions or criticisms. And I think that's the kind of dialogue that we look forward to, and hopefully we can get that from these series of free dinners. And the only thing we ask, and we will be specific in terms of RSVPing, so we get an amount so that we can provide dinner for everybody. But I think that is an important step as we continue forward. And that is all I have.
Thank you. I would like, if you could, to get an invitation over to our senior center and also something posted up at the library on the second floor. Thank you.
Will do.
Appreciate it. Mr. Matthew?
Nothing this evening, actually.
Excellent, very good. School committee members, Mr. Coonan.
Thank you, Ms. Ennis. A lot of my questions were answered this evening, and really just the next question is in terms of funding and how we pay for all this. That's why it's important for the community at large to come out Wednesday night, to support the schools, to support your community, and support the great initiatives that the people in this room bring forward to make our jobs. And I thank them for coming in, for the passion that they have, the dedication to the children they have, and about making Oxford put it in the front. Thank you.
Thank you
See you
very
Wednesday
much.
night.
Mrs. Gauscher?
First, I'd like to thank the community for such the huge turnout for the forum last week. I was quite shocked at the turnout and the enthusiasm from the parents, the faculty, staff. And I hope that we get that big of a turnout at town meeting on Wednesday night. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Walker?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We had a taste of what happens when people are tuned in, and it must continue. It must continue because we have dedicated professional people who are doing the very best they can with what we can offer them for resources. I hope that the articles in the paper and the word on the street is going to help to stimulate the response from people who vote. And in fact, if you don't vote, you can still come to a town meeting and sit in the non-voters section and you can listen to what goes on. I am very pleased with at the place where we are now. And we must continue to forge forward because children's futures depend upon it. And they are the adults in formation that we see now. And I'm very pleased with the results of the reports. They were very, very obvious where there's action going on and progress, and I pray to God we can continue with that progress. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mrs. Walker. Mrs. Ravelli?
Let's see, I have a few general questions. One, I'm assuming we've hired then the woodshop teacher, but I'm wondering what other classes that he's teaching at this point in time? Through the chair to Mr. H.
And I'm going to defer to Mr. Wells
not
or Mr.
again.
Nugent, because they can provide the most up-to-the-minute
The up-to-the-minute.
information.
You said you weren't gonna do this.
I didn't, I asked him.
You did. You did.
Right now, we have to transition. It was posted internally, so there's gonna be
Okay.
a transition period. We're hoping to do an intro to wood technology, 2 sections, beginning November 4th. So between now and November 4th, there's some responsibilities that the individual must complete. Currently working at Project Coffee, will be coming over here. We will have architectural engineering. So we'll be using something similar to a CAD program, where students will go into a computer lab, which is across from the woodworking shop, and we'll be taking advantage of that. Prior to this meeting, I had a brief discussion with Mr. Troiano from Oxford Cable Access. It won't happen this year, but next year we will be able to provide a program where we'll be doing videotaping. So it'll be videography. We're hoping to focus on all of our athletic teams and then have the kids put it up on the local access channel. So it certainly is not going to be the best that's out there, but the kids are going to be working hard trying to do that. So it's in the developmental stages, quite frankly, that this just came to be. We're very fortunate and very grateful that we have the opportunity. But it looks like at the very least there'll be 2 wood technology classes. There will be not mechanical, but architectural engineering. And right now, I've got to meet with that teacher. We just made the hire, actually, today. So, about expanding.
Congratulations.
Thank you. No, we're excited.
Yeah.
And honestly, the kids are excited, too. So it'll be a pilot year as we start to pull things together. Quite frankly, the wood shop hasn't been run for a few years. There's equipment issues. There's got to be some inventories done. We've got to make sure that things are up to OSHA standards, including the number of students per square footage that we have. But it's in progress. And he's kind of excited about trying to tie it into not just his programs, not just students that want to do woodworking and technology, but also the STEM side of it. So the person that we hired has a pretty extensive background and was at Northbridge High School for a number of years doing the same thing until they closed the program.
You might as well just stay right there.
I'm gonna
The next
stay right
question is for you too, I guess. Timelines, we've heard you talk about the WPI timelines for that program, the STEM program through WPI.
Well,
Is that just still in conversation?
we're going to, it appears we'll do another professional development on October 22nd. There's some discussion that has to take place between WPI, myself, the superintendent, the business manager. I may be out knocking on a few people's doors, looking to help get us started so that we can have some seed money, if you will, to go into a grant that we would apply for through the National Science Foundation. WPI would do all of that. So it's something that we haven't certainly put on the back burner. But that's about as much information right now as that we have.
Thank you. I have no other questions
Just
here.
in case, I don't
Thank you.
Really. The only other thing I have to mention is Mr. Yvonne, the podcast. Not a question, just a kudos, and it's nice to see technology used in another way, and I'm sure the gentleman sitting next to you also appreciates that. And I'm hoping that maybe you can help pass that along, maybe in one of your administrative whatever meetings, and show them how wonderful it is. How many hits do you think you've gotten? So that doesn't tell you. Yeah, you have to pay. Good. Great way to communicate. And that's it.
Thank you very much. Mr. Wells, I have a couple of questions. I'm joking. Relax. Okay, I'm just going to reiterate what Mr. Coonan said. Town meeting, of course, this Wednesday, 7 o'clock in our auditorium. Important. We all know it. Let's hope that half of the people that were here for the forum show up. That would be an amazing thing. I've gotten a lot of feedback on that forum, and what Mrs. Walker said, it's got to continue. I will say 90% of those parents would be interested in doing something again. I'm hoping we will have a better turnout for the supper with the super. But I also think we have to entertain doing more of those types of forums. They liked that there was an agenda, that there was something that we could, everyone could follow. Unfortunately, when it's played on the TV, you can't hear the questions, which is unfortunate because some of the questions and comments were really, really well put for us to think about and for them to think about. So that's too bad. So next time we'll have to run that a little bit better. Maybe have Tony put some mics out into the audience or however we're going to do that. podcasts also, I'm hoping that the other schools start maybe doing something like that, or if they're looking into doing it. Mr. Wells is shaking his head. Would you like to come up and tell us about it? I'm kidding. I'm going to, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to. So, I think that would be great if each school could have a podcast. I know that I would like to hear what's happening at all of them, all of the schools. Our next meeting, we will begin our superintendent evaluation, the new superintendent evaluation. We'll start on that form, and we'll be having some discussion around that. That is something that we've got to kind of move on and settle quickly if we can, so we're ready for Mr. Himmelberger's evaluation. The other thing that I had something else. Oh, I have to say to everyone that if you ever get to go to a football game and the superintendent is making popcorn, it is well worth it to just come and watch the superintendent make popcorn. He did a very good job, and the boosters,
For my
thank you
first
very
time.
much. For your first time, it was excellent. He had a little trouble with the oil and the little mix you have to, but we straightened that out, and he did a very good job. We are looking for coaches, Mr. Wells, to be guest popcorn makers or hot dogs, hamburgers. So I know that Mr. Pietro has done it with his golf team. Please, I've sent an email over to Coach Dildorian. Any coaches that would like to be a guest for, we have some events coming up. Senior night, we have a few things going on. Senior night field hockey is this Thursday. The game starts, I think, 5:15. So if any of your coaches would like to come in and help out, we would welcome them. And it was fun having Mr. Coonan and Mrs. Coonan in the booth, too. We work, don't we?
Yes, we did work.
We work. It was a good time, though. We had a great time. All right, that's all I have. We're going to go into executive session. Thank you all very much for coming in. They need to clear the room. I'd like a motion to executive session under Chapter 30A, Section 21, Subsection 2, for conducting strategy session in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel.
So moved.
Gauscher.
Yes.
Mrs. Walker.
Yes.
Mrs. Ravelli.
Yes.
And I vote yes. We are now in executive session.